September 19th, 1944, Arracourt, France. A dense fog covered the fields near Arracourt as First Lieutenant Merwin Messon gripped the turret rim of his Sherman tank. His gunner scanned the misty terrain ahead through the periscope, alert for the formidable German Panthers, tanks whose sloped armor had proven nearly impervious to standard American shells. Unbeknownst to Men and his crew, their ammunition rack held 6 rounds that would dramatically shift the battlefield. These were M93 high-velocity, armor-piercing rounds, each with a tungsten carbide core, capable of turning the medium Sherman into a sudden threat feared by German crews. The psychological impact of these rounds was just as potent as their ability to penetrate armor. German tankers, previously confident in their invulnerability, were forced to reassess everything they thought they knew about American firepower. But this story didn't start on the French battlefield. It began in the United States. Metallurgists and ballistic engineers, racing against time, had been working to solve a problem that threatened the effectiveness of American armor in Europe. By early 1944, the U.S. Army faced an unexpected dilemma. The M4 Sherman, backbone of American armored divisions, could not reliably defeat German tanks from the front. The Panther, Germany's response to the Soviet T-34, combined a high-velocity 75mm gun with an 80mm glacis plate sloped at 55 degrees, giving an effective thickness of roughly 140mm, almost impervious to American tank guns. Allied intelligence had underestimated both the number and sophistication of Panthers. By June 1944, at the Normandy landings, nearly 38% of German tanks were Panthers. Hundreds of advanced medium tanks, often manned by inexperienced crews, yet protected by armor conventional Sherman rounds could not penetrate frontally. The standard 75mm M3 gun on most Shermans could not pierce Panther frontal armor at any range. Shells simply bounced off, leaving crews vulnerable to counterfire. Even the upgraded 76mm M1 gun, arriving in July 1944, struggled. Using standard M62 armor-piercing capped rounds, it could penetrate 109mm of armor at 1,000 meters at 0-degree obliquity. Effective against Panzer IVs and many assault guns, it was largely ineffective against Panther-sloped frontal armor. While the 76mm could penetrate a Panther's gun mantlet, it required dangerously close range, under 100 meters, distances at which the Panther's firepower was lethal. The issue wasn't the gun, but the ammunition. The 76mm M1 deployment had been delayed by bureaucracy, cautious planning, and disbelief that the 75mm gun wouldn't suffice. The first M4 Shermans with 76mm guns rolled off production lines in January 1944, arriving in Britain by April 10th, yet commanders withheld them from D-Day. Reasons included insufficient crew training, logistical complications of supplying 2 ammunition types, and overconfidence in the 75mm gun. A catastrophic miscalculation. By July 1944, reports from Normandy were grim. On July 2nd, complaints about the 75mm guns reached General Eisenhower, who expressed frustration in strong language. Assurances about the 76mm capability had proven misleading. A board convened July 12th confirmed what crews already knew. Standard American weapons could not defeat Panthers frontally. General Omar Bradley ordered the 76mm Shermans rushed to the front, and by July 25th, 102 M4A1 76mm tanks debuted in Operation Cobra. Initial engagements showed the 76mm's limitations. While better than the 75mm, Sherman crews still had to maneuver for flanking shots or target Panther gun mantlets at dangerously close range. The solution lay in metallurgy and physics. By July 1944, American ordnance engineers had developed the T4 round, later standardized as M93 HVAP, high-velocity armor-piercing. HVAP ammunition represented a major leap from conventional rounds. A dense tungsten carbide core, one of the hardest known materials, was encased in a lightweight aluminum body. This concentrated kinetic energy into a small, high-velocity penetrator while reducing overall weight. The results were dramatic. Muzzle velocity increased from 792 ms per second, M62, to 1,036 meters per second, translating to far greater armor penetration. At 1,000 yards, 914 meters, HVA could penetrate 160 millimeters of armor at 10 degrees obliquity, including the Panther gun mantlet, a target previously unreachable except at point-blank range. However, production posed a challenge. HVAP required tungsten, a critical material mostly imported from China, which supplied 36% of the world's tungsten pre-war. Each 76mm HVAP round contained roughly 0.88 kilograms of tungsten carbide. With 6 rounds per Sherman, nearly 5 kilograms of the scarce material was needed per tank. Domestic U.S. production supplemented imports, but supplies were constrained. Germany's tungsten situation was worse. Limited domestic output and declining Swedish imports left Panther crews without HVAP equivalent ammunition. Though HVAP testing had started in 1942, mass production didn't begin until after Normandy exposed the Panther threat. In July 1944, only 1,000 rounds for tank destroyers were produced. August and September saw gradual increases, but only by November did 76mm HVAP output reach 5,000 rounds monthly, rising to 7,000 in January 1945. By March 1945, 33,000 rounds had been produced, still a fraction of what was needed. Most Shermans in Europe carried merely 5 HVAP rounds. The first rounds arrived in Europe in August 1944, but strategic conditions limited their impact. Normandy's hedgerow fighting forced American armor into close quarters, where German firepower dominated. German tactics, concealed Panthers in hull-down positions, ambushing Sherman columns, exacerbated the challenge. Psychological stress on American crews was severe. The Sherman earned the nickname Ronson Lighter, reputed to ignite easily, a reputation that, while exaggerated, influenced battlefield behavior. HVAP's arrival began to change the balance, slowly. The first widespread combat test occurred in Lorraine, as Patton's Third Army pushed toward the German border in September 1944. The 4th Armored Division, advancing aggressively, had seized a bridgehead over the Moselle River near Arracourt. German High Command, fearing a breakthrough, ordered the 5th Panzer Army to counterattack, assembling 2 Panther brigades, the 111th and 113th, totaling around 150 tanks against roughly 50 Shermans. On paper, the Germans had an overwhelming advantage, but they underestimated American tactical skill. September 19th, 1944, the battle begins. Fog covered Arracourt's rolling hills. German reconnaissance was poor. The Panther brigades advanced blindly. At 8 a.m., the 113th Panzer Brigade penetrated American outposts. The Germans, advancing in columns, made a critical error. Captain Kenneth R. Lameson's C Company, 37th Tank Battalion, had Shermans loaded with 6 HVAP rounds each. Crews were instructed to target Panther mantlets and turrets at effective ranges. The first Panther appeared 75 meters away. The American gunner fired immediately. The HVAP round, exceeding 1,000 meters per second, pierced the mantlet and detonated ammunition stored inside. The Panther exploded. 2 more Panthers followed and were destroyed within seconds. Shocked German crews retreated. Throughout the morning, similar engagements unfolded. Fog aided American defenders, allowing them to target vulnerable sides and turrets. M18 Hellcat tank destroyers, fast and HVAP-equipped, struck German armor with deadly efficiency. By noon, artillery and air support coordinated with tanks. P-47 Thunderbolts strafed German armor, while combined arms, infantry, artillery, air power, overwhelmed technical German superiority. HVAP didn't make Shermans equal to Panthers on paper, but it gave crews a fighting chance. They could now exploit weak points. Mantlets, hull turret junctions, side armor. German morale suffered. Crews learned their invulnerable armor could be defeated. By afternoon, reports to German HQ indicated Americans possessed new, powerful ammunition, generating confusion and alarm. The battle continued through September 22nd. American forces destroyed or disabled roughly 86 German tanks and assault guns, while losing 25 Shermans and 7 tank destroyers. The kill ratio favored the Americans despite technical inferiority. Arracourt demonstrated that American crews, properly trained and equipped, could defeat superior German tanks through combined arms, superior tactics, and judicious use of HVP rounds. The psychological impact of HVAP ammunition extended well beyond immediate tactical results at Arracourt. Word quickly spread among American armored units that Shermans now carried rounds capable of penetrating Panther mantlets at combat ranges. Crew confidence improved, and units became more willing to engage German armor directly. The paralyzing fear that had gripped some units during Normandy gradually dissipated. While Shermans still respected Panther firepower, crews no longer felt helpless. This shift in morale proved critical for subsequent operations. Confident crews fought more aggressively, seized tactical opportunities, and exploited advantageous positions. The limited supply of HVAP rounds complicated operational planning. Tank destroyers, with their primary mission of anti-tank engagement, received priority. Sherman companies, balancing infantry support and armored combat roles, often had fewer rounds despite frequent encounters with enemy tanks. Distribution was managed at multiple levels, army to battalion, resulting in uneven allocation. Some units had surplus HVAP rounds while others exhausted supplies in days without resupply, creating operational tension. When German forces launched their surprise Ardennes offensive in December 1944, American tank units faced renewed pressure. The Battle of the Bulge saw hundreds of Panthers and Tigers deployed in winter conditions, favoring the defenders and limiting Allied air support due to poor weather. Shermans relied heavily on scarce HVAP ammunition to engage superior German armor. Within days, some units depleted their stocks entirely, with resupply hindered by snow-blocked roads and disrupted logistics. Even under these constraints, American forces demonstrated that skill, coordination, and combined arms tactics could compensate for technical inferiority. Tanks coordinated with infantry, employing bazooka teams to disable Panthers at close range, while Shermans provided covering fire. Artillery observers called in precise fire missions targeting optics, tracks, and exposed crew members. When weather allowed, air support devastated German armor concentrated on approach routes. By the end of the Bulge, German armored formations were shattered, having lost hundreds of irreplaceable tanks and experienced crews. By early 1945, the strategic picture decisively favored the Allies. American and British forces prepared to cross the Rhine, while Soviet armies advanced from the east, shattering German lines in massive winter offensives. German industry collapsed under combined bombing campaigns, territory loss, and severe resource shortages, including fuel and tungsten. Panther production, which had peaked at 3,900 units in 1944, declined sharply due to bombed factories, disrupted transport, and unavailable raw materials. Even newly produced Panthers often remained immobile due to fuel shortages. HVAP ammunition itself had technical limits. The tungsten carbide core, while excellent at penetrating armor under favorable conditions, was brittle. Below velocities of roughly 2,300 to 2,500 feet per second, the core could shatter instead of penetrating. This meant that effectiveness diminished at longer ranges, with successful penetration often limited to under 1,000 meters. American crews learned these limits through combat experience, sometimes at heavy cost. Firing HVP beyond effective ranges wasted precious rounds and exposed crews to return fire from German guns, which remained lethal at longer distances. Training on HVAP usage was often minimal. Ammunition arrived faster than training materials, forcing crews to learn through trial and error in live combat. Sergeant Francis Baker's engagement on November 20th, 1944, illustrated this. His Sherman, armed with a 76mm gun and HVP rounds, fired 7 rounds at a Panther from roughly 800 yards. Despite multiple hits on side armor, penetration failed. While the Panther withdrew, the incident highlighted that HVAP was not a guaranteed solution. Proper shot placement, range estimation, and tactical positioning remained essential. HVAP improved odds but did not replace skill or strategy. Post-war analysis confirmed HVAP's effectiveness and limitations. Against Panther gun mantlets at ranges up to 1,000 meters, it reliably penetrated and often caused catastrophic secondary explosions. Against the glacis plate, results were poor, except at close ranges and favorable angles. Sloped armor often caused rounds to ricochet or shatter. Sherman crews continued to rely on flanking maneuvers and tactical positioning. HVAP did not equalize Shermans technically, but it provided a fighting chance where none had existed. The Korean War, beginning in June 1950, provided another test of HVAP's effectiveness. Shermans, now primarily M4A3E8 variants with 76mm guns, faced Soviet-built T-34-85 tanks in North Korean and later Chinese service. Unlike Europe in 1944, tungsten supplies were no longer constrained, and abundant stocks ensured ready ammunition availability. American crews found HVAP rounds easily penetrated T-34-85 armor at normal combat ranges. The T-34-85, while capable, had armor far inferior to the Panthers. Its 90mm turret front and 45mm glacis plate could not resist high-velocity tungsten projectiles, allowing Shermans to achieve highly favorable exchange ratios against enemy armor. For veterans of European combat, this vindicated the 76mm Sherman's potential. Ammunition that had been scarce and limiting in Europe proved devastatingly effective in Korea once logistical constraints were removed. German assessments of HVAP after the war reflected both respect and frustration. German ordnance officers acknowledged that American industry had solved the tungsten-core ammunition challenge more effectively than German manufacturers. Though Germany pioneered similar technology with the Panzergranate 40 series, production limits meant these rounds were never available in sufficient numbers. By late 1944, American production of HVAP exceeded German capabilities significantly. German tank crews interviewed post-war consistently cited American ammunition improvements as a major tactical complication. The knowledge that Shermans could penetrate Panther mantlets at combat ranges forced them to abandon reliance on frontal armor alone. German tactics became more cautious, slower, and defensive, giving Americans initiative and allowing combined arms coordination to neutralize German technical advantages. Technical examination of HVAP rounds from destroyed Panthers revealed the efficiency of American design. The tungsten carbide core, encased in a lightweight aluminum body, concentrated maximum kinetic energy while minimizing tungsten usage. This design allowed higher velocities without excessive barrel wear, and the dense core retained energy over distance better than traditional steel penetrators. German engineers recognized the advantages but lacked the industrial capacity and resources to match production. German factories, already under air attack, focused on sustaining existing designs rather than developing new ammunition types. Panthers continued using guns and rounds developed years earlier. In contrast, American improvements, combined with operational skill, allowed Shermans to compete effectively despite inferior armor and firepower. The Battle of Arracourt, along with subsequent engagements, underscored a key principle: technical superiority alone does not guarantee battlefield success. German planners assumed Panther armor and firepower would offset inexperienced crews and limited support, but operational excellence, coordination, mobility, logistics, and training proved decisive. American tankers, facing initially superior German tanks, gained confidence through HVAP's limited but tangible effectiveness. Morale improved, crews fought more assertively, and tactical decision-making shifted in their favor. Veterans of Arracourt carried lessons into post-war doctrine. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, commander of the 37th Tank Battalion, would rise to Army Chief of Staff. His experiences with HVAP and combined arms operations shaped his understanding of tank warfare. The M1 Abrams main battle tank later embodied these lessons: a powerful 120mm smoothbore gun with advanced ammunition, including depleted uranium penetrators performing the same role as HVAP. Similarly, German veterans who served in Panther units applied their experiences to Bundeswehr doctrine. Acknowledging industrial limits, they emphasized crew training, ammunition effectiveness, and operational excellence in tanks, such as the Leopard 1 and Leopard 2. By May 1945, Germany's surrender ended the immediate need for HVAP against Panthers. Post-war examination confirmed its effectiveness under favorable conditions while noting its limits. Panthers struck by HVAP typically showed penetrations through mantlets or turret faces, but rarely through glacis plates. The data validated American doctrine emphasizing flanking and advantageous engagement angles. While HVAP improved Shermans against heavy armor, overwhelming numerical superiority, logistics, air power, artillery, and operational doctrine remained decisive. From Normandy 1944 to early 1945, American tank crews transformed. Initially apprehensive against Panthers and Tigers, crews gained confidence through sustained combat, improved training, increased 76mm Sherman availability, and experience with HVAP. Psychological shifts translated into tactical gains. Confident crews fought aggressively, seized opportunities, and exploited terrain. HVAP rounds, though limited, were instrumental in this transformation. HVAP's legacy extends into modern tank ammunition design. Post-1945 American doctrine emphasized ammunition effectiveness as central to tank combat. Modern rounds use depleted uranium or tungsten alloys, replicating the density and hardness that made tungsten carbide effective in Noble 2. The principle is consistent. Concentrate maximum kinetic energy into a dense, high-velocity projectile. Soviet and later Russian ammunition development followed similar paths, independently recognizing the same kinetic principles. The modern tank ammunition industry owes much to the WT2 HVAP experience, which demonstrated conclusively that specialized ammunition could overcome armor advantages. September 19, 1944, the day Merwin Men's Sherman crews first engaged Panthers with HVAP, marked a turning point in armored warfare psychology. German crews, previously confident behind thick armor, now faced credible frontal threats. American crews, once outmatched, gained confidence in their ability to penetrate Panther armor under favorable conditions. This psychological shift influenced every subsequent armored engagement in Europe. HVAP, though never abundant, transformed Shermans from vulnerable defenders into capable attackers. The first crews firing tungsten-cored rounds in combat proved that intelligent application of industrial capacity and materials science could overcome formidable technical disadvantages. The lessons from HVAP remain relevant. Material science, ammunition design, industrial capacity, crew training, and tactical doctrine combine to overcome technical disadvantages. Arracourt demonstrated that tactical skill, morale, and well-coordinated operations could neutralize even the most technically superior weapons. The American experience with HVAP highlights the importance of integrating technological solutions with operational planning and human factors. Industrial capacity, when applied intelligently, can decisively influence battlefield outcomes, even against seemingly insurmountable technical challenges.